Hey there, welcome to another video on chess. This is Bharat Divyang from the Joint Academy. I want you to observe this position and tell me what is it that you observe. Take a moment. Alright, if you told me that this is absolutely symmetrical, then you're completely right. This is as symmetrical as it gets. It's black and white are literally mirror images. And this was an actual game played by one of my students. So let's actually see how this game started. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop, h6, interestingly by black, knight c3, d3, bishop out to c5, castle, and both of them push the a pawn, d6, h3 to prevent the bishop from coming to g4, black castles. So here we are where we started off, completely symmetrical. Now, why is it that I'm talking about this? Symmetric positions are so often in amateur and beginner games, especially the Italian game. It kind of leads to the same thing. Why is that? Why is that so? Let's think for a moment. Everybody who starts chess learns the basic principles of chess. Develop your pieces, control the center, and castle early. And that's what everybody does. So the right place for the knights is to come to c3 and f3 respectively. The right place for the bishop is c5 or c4 in case of an Italian opening. You need to make way for the other bishop, so you open it. But d3, d4 is not possible because d4 is controlled by the opponent. So there you go. You're following the principles, you're castling early, and you end up with a completely symmetrical position. This is going to happen as long as people who follow the rules or understand the principles of opening are going to follow it and play the standard e4 opening. What's wrong with it? Absolutely nothing. The game can go on. Just that once you get to a stage where blunders don't happen, this leads to what we call as drawish positions and often leads to games which are very, very dull. They don't give you a lot of scope for tactical brilliance. They don't give you a lot of chance for conflict. It seems to be very straightforward, going towards a draw, a lot of exchanges maybe. How does one change this? You change it by creating a symmetry. And this video is all about creating that asymmetry. How does one go about creating the asymmetry? Oftentimes, it's because of two things. One is a pawn break. The other is a deliberate offensive attack. What do I mean by that? A pawn break is when you typically push a pawn and opponent cannot really respond in any other way other than dealing with that conflict, with that particular pawn push. Or you do an offensive attack, which means either he captures you or you capture him, and nevertheless, one of the pieces is going to go out of the board and the asymmetry is going to be built. So let's see how the asymmetry was created in this particular game. It started with bishop d3. Now, this is what I mean with an offensive attack. Because all this bishop is saying is either you capture me or I'm going to capture you. In any case, we're going to create an asymmetry here. And black did capture, white captured it back. And now, as you can see, the asymmetry is already created. Now, even this can be turned symmetrical. How? If black decides to follow Q and just bring its bishop to d6 and white decides to capture it back, we would be back to square number one, which is a symmetrical position. And that is the reason, if you understand asymmetry, and black does in fact attempt by bringing his bishop to d6, as white you would not typically take it. You would probably reply to this with a knight move here, which creates an asymmetry. And therefore, the game can proceed not in its typical drawish position with something else. Okay, so here black decided to move the pawn. Maybe he kind of thought there's going to be a pawn push, and then he would end up having an attack on the e4 pawn, which would be weak the moment the d pawn pushes. Knight comes forward, bishop comes here. Queen e1. Now, as you can see, the asymmetry is kind of complete because the chances of going back into a symmetrical position is going to be highly unlikely. So again, this is the essence of the game. A game that starts symmetrical typically because people follow the principles is often going to be asymmetrical only if somebody wills it. Somebody tries it. Otherwise, the asymmetry comes in very late in the game, much after a lot of exchanges have already happened, and the asymmetry doesn't really impact the result of the game because, let's be fair. The moment it goes to a late end game, a late middle game, early end game, and you even have some bit of a symmetry, it could still be trash. Nevertheless, let's see how this game kind of is taken to its end. So b5, bishop moves back, knight moves back, g4, which is very interesting because the idea could be that you want to bring the queen here, and therefore moving the pawn ahead makes more sense. Queen comes to g3 as planned, and this is where I feel black probably lost tempo, because until here I think there was a lot of attack going on, or at least there was an equal cue to both. But this is where black took the pedal off the gas, and gave white the initiative, because now with his attack he takes it back, rook takes it back. And I think this was also wrong, because it was a trivial attack trying to get in here, but nothing to stop what's going to happen. You don't catch the chicken by going to where it was. You plan where it's going to be, right? So queen takes it back, and now there's a lot of threats. The threat of bishop, the rook coming here, doubling up, the knight coming here with a check, which is a direct threat right away, which black apparently did not see, moved his knight thinking he's going to ask for an exchange, and this essentially meant the game was over. Black resigned at this point of time, but even if he hadn't resigned, it's just too much of an attack that black cannot defend at all. Okay, I hope you like this video. I hope you enjoyed the idea of it and you'll be able to apply it in your games. If so, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.